Welcome to the Spectre of Truth, and I am
The Black Abbot.
now. You might be thinking, "Oh, here we go, another YouTube channel," but I can almost guarantee you that it's not going to be like anything that you expect or anything that you've already seen. With this new and awesome channel, I want to primarily use it to introduce my subscribers to certain information that I'm pretty sure a lot of people are not aware of. But if they had the information, it could change their life. And it's not to say that I'm so great that I have all this information that the rest of the world doesn't have. That's not the case. But I've been very fortunate in my life to not only grow up with a great mother, but I also had a fantastic father. And he taught me so much growing up and exposed me to so many awesome things that it was just amazing. But in those days, it was a very different world. And there was a father in almost every home, and the man controlled the household, not the woman. So the children had the benefit of the father's teaching and his protection. And he basically took everything he learned and passed it on to them, and he protected them the whole way. So then they could grow up and become stable, productive, strong, self-sufficient people. Self-sufficient people. But all of that's gone now because most homes and children today don't have a father. Or I guess I should say it's not that they don't have a father. Everybody has a father, but the mothers usually don't know who he is. So we're not going into all of that right now, but it's out there. We all know about it, and at some point we may get into it, but that's not where we're trying to go with today. So, but I do look out here and I see what's going on. I see so many talented people out here, super talents, God level skills, but they just languish and flounder in sadness and failure. Some of them even living on the street because they had no father or father figure to pull out that greatness, pull that out of them, and to push them to be the best that they can be. And that's really what the father has always done all throughout history. We don't have that today. So I took what my father gave me and what he taught me, and I built on that. And I have developed some very special skill sets and abilities. And basically, what I want to do is take that and put that out to the people, to as many people as I can, so that they can benefit from it. So he didn't teach me everything I know. Obviously, nobody can do that. But he gave me such a great foundation that I was able to build on it and take it into a lot of areas that many people have never seen or considered. I try to be creative with what I got and then turn it into something else. So I told my father I was going to do this before he ascended, and I wanted to be able to pass it on to as many people as possible. And with the internet that we have, the internet today and all these social platforms, we can do that almost overnight and get it out globally. And that's really where I'm trying to go with it. So my hope is that somebody somewhere will be able to get this information and do the same thing, and then use it to improve their own lives, and then use that to improve the lives of others, and then use all of that kind of come together, and then use it to improve and build up the whole community. So, see, a lot of people complain about what's going on in the world, but if you notice, most of the hell that's been going on out here takes place in these lower levels of society, what they call like the grassroots, the inner cities and such. But you don't hear too many complaints coming from the people that's out in the country or in that upper echelon of society, those upper echelon communities. See, and so you can't stop all of these problems going on. They were around before you were born. You can't stop it. And every generation had their own issues to deal with. What's going on today wasn't going on 10, 15 years ago. What was going on 10, 15 years ago wasn't going on, 50 years ago. It's different, and it keeps changing, and it's always going to keep changing. So, so we have to adjust and adapt to what's going on today, and that's kind of where this is coming in at. This is basically what I want to bring to it. Okay, so so I just noticed if you can take your life up in those upper levels, you don't have to really deal with what's going on on the lower levels. See, this whole planet is a school. And for the most part, we have been stuck with dealing with, I guess, what I call the spiritual kindergartners and the spiritual first graders. Now, you got to ask yourself, how do children behave at those levels? See, there's certain things that go on in that age group that don't go on in the upper ages. You see things going on with 4 and 5-year-olds that you don't see going on with 20 and 30-year-olds, hopefully. Unless there's something wrong with them, but usually you don't see that. So it works in a spiritual sense too. What you see going on with people that are spiritual babies, you don't see with people that are spiritual 5th graders. I don't think it goes too high. I haven't, and according to like the scale, you can look at it from a scale point. I don't know that I've ever met, I don't think 12th grade, spiritual 12th graders even exist on this planet. I think it may only go up to like 5th or 6th grade, something like that here, maybe 7th grade here in this realm. And then beyond that, there might not even be in physical form anymore. But that's a whole nother thing. We'll get into that another time. But the spiritual babies is where all the problems are coming from. So the person might be 45 years old, but spiritually 4 or 5 years old and 6 years old on the spiritual level. So those people, if they see something they want, they take it. If they see a car that they want, they'll take it, break in and take the car. They see a woman that they want, they'll just take the woman, no matter what she wants. And you have, this is where these problems are coming from, is from that level. Then if you try to stop them, now you're the enemy and they try to kill you. You stop them from taking something that they wanted, they'll take you out. They'll try to take you out if they can. But you can't get rid of these lower grades in a school. You can't take 1st and 2nd grade out of the school. They have some grades that start at a certain grade level, but the ones that are on those lower levels are still not on the levels of the higher grades. So you're always going to have these lower grades in the school. And so same with this planet, school, Earth. You have these spiritual babies. They're always going to be here. And they're always going to bring insanity to the people around them. They're going to bring that into your life. That's what spiritual children do. It's like children in your life, babies in your life. They bring craziness to the household, run around screaming, breaking stuff, knocking stuff over. They're children, they're babies. This is what they do. Same thing in the real world. Spiritual babies bring craziness and wild insanity into your life. So, but see, what we try to do is we try to still connect to those people and call ourselves trying to help them, save them, and you can't help or save or pull anybody up to the higher levels with you. You can't save, they have to save themselves. They have to make the decision that they want to get up into those higher levels, and then they have to do the work to get there themselves. And there's nothing you can do about that. So just like in a regular school, you don't see 7th graders hanging around with 1st graders. They don't want anything to do with them. I mean, what would they even have to talk about? They don't have anything to talk about. So this is what we've been doing, is mixing ourselves with these spiritual babies. So we have to elevate and recognize our own level and then seek out people on the same or higher levels, and then leave the spiritual babies to push each other in the mud, eat paste, or whatever else they want to do. That's what they do on those levels. And you have to leave them to do that until they decide on their own that they want to go higher, and then they'll take themselves there. So you can try to drag a 3rd grader into 7th grade, force him to sit there, but all he's going to do is make trouble for everybody else because he doesn't belong there. But when he's ready, he'll move up on his own and without being dragged, kicking and screaming. So you just have to leave him be and focus on your own elevation. Now, what you can do is once you've gone up 1 or 2 levels, then you can act as a beacon, kind of a lighthouse, and just shine, and then let the ones who are ready follow you to the light. And you'll realize that at that point, you don't have to fight or argue or debate with them all day. They'll just see what you're doing and fall in step. And then, bam, 100 people just changed your life because of what they saw that you were doing. They liked it, and they wanted to be up there with you. So now you're going to get some who just want to sit with you and debate all day. They're not really trying to elevate or go into where you're trying to do anything with that. They just want to debate with you and argue and prove how smart they are or whatever, and really just to prove you wrong and to push their opinions on you. And they think that's really all you have too. It's just opinions. They don't deal with facts. They're just dealing with opinions, and they think that's what you're doing. So they want to have a battle of opinions. But once you get out of those lower levels, you already know that that's just a waste of time. And they don't want to deal with any real information. And they won't go look up or research anything that you said to them. It's all ego driven. They're dealing with ego. So it's really just a matter of getting you or whoever to accept their will and to place value on their opinions. That's really all they want. You can spot them a mile away before they even come at you. And then you can decide whether or not you want to deal with that. And one way to spot it is that they never have any actual data. They don't have any dates, times, names. They never have any actual places that exist today or in history. And that's how you can tell when you're dealing with somebody that just wants to have a battle of opinions, because they never come at you with facts. They have a lot of quotes out of the Bible, and then they try to use that as a history book, and that's all they have. Then if you don't accept that, again, you're the problem and you're the villain. And you can get caught up on this back and forth thing with these people for hours, days, weeks, and they never get anywhere. It's like running on a treadmill. Personally, once I see somebody's not really trying to learn anything, I just leave them be and move on. But when you deal with these people who are spiritual fourth and fifth graders, it's so much easier to deal with them, and you can usually get along with them so much better. You'll know them because you both almost like start finishing each other's sentences. It's like, oh wow, instead of having this big nasty debate, now it's almost like dancing. It's a synchronized energy. It's fantastic, but it's rare. If you can find somebody like that, you try to hold on to them, and once you have kind of a group of them, they become basically like your tribe. And I think this is what most of us are really doing. We're trying to find our tribe. So whenever I have managed to get a few people together that were willing to listen and talk and share information, and we could really kind of have these dialogues, these higher level dialogues, I always try to encourage them along the lines that my dad encouraged me, which was the path that really every great leader in history has always urged people to follow, which was the path of taking control of your own life and becoming the best person that you can be, then and to encourage people to be the change that they're looking for. See, it's not about going out and trying to make people change and conform to what you want. It's about becoming what you want to see. So it's like I've never really heard anybody explain it, but I figured it out by watching my dad. So I'll tell you like this. If you don't like the movies that they're putting out today, stop talking about, man, they're making these horrible movies. They need to change what they're doing. Or I don't like how they represent us in the movies. I don't like this about them. Just what they don't like. They just talk about what they don't like in the movies. Or they need to have better writers in the movies, Instead of that, look into filmmaking and writing and start making your own movies. See, that's the difference. Learn to write the stories, learn to do the graphics and the animation, learn to draw and paint, all of that. It's up to you, not them. That's the difference. See, and a lot of us never caught on to that. And I'm not talking about a black or white thing. I'm saying in general, people in general, regardless of nationality, color, or creed. A lot of people like talking about what's not going on and what, quote unquote, they need to change. But they never go out and do the research and educate themselves so that they can do themselves what they're asking for. They want better movies, but they won't go learn how to make one. They want better books, but they won't write one. See, that's what I'm saying. So when you start talking about they and what they need to do for you, you have just put yourself into the position of a child, a spiritual baby. This is something that Malcolm X addressed way back in the 50s, but our great-grandparents didn't want to hear it then, and their descendants sure don't want to hear it today. Malcolm said,
The economic philosophy of black nationalism only means that we have to become involved in a program of re-education to educate our people into the importance of knowing that when you spend your dollar out of the community in which you live, the community in which you spend your money becomes richer and richer. The community out of which you take your money becomes poorer and poorer. And because these Negroes who have been misled, misguided, are breaking their necks to take their money and spend it with the man. The man is becoming richer and richer, and you're becoming poorer and poorer. And then what happens? The community in which you live becomes a slum. It becomes a ghetto. The conditions become run down. And then you have the audacity to complain about poor housing in a run-down community. Why, you run it down yourself when you take your dollar out. And you and I are in a double trap, because not only do we lose by taking our money someplace else and spending it, when we try and spend it in our own community, we're trapped because we haven't had sense enough to set up stores and control the businesses of our community. The man who's controlling the stores in our community is a man who doesn't look like we do. He's a man who doesn't even live in the community. So you and I, even when we try and spend our money in the block where we live or the area where we live, we're spending it with a man who, when the sun goes down, takes that basket full of money in another part of the town. So we're trapped, double trapped, triple trapped. Anywhere we go, we find that we're trapped. And every kind of solution that someone comes up with is just another trap. But the political and economic philosophy of black nationalism, the economic philosophy of black nationalism shows our people the importance of setting up these little stores and developing them and expanding them into larger operations. Woolworth didn't start out big like they are today. They started out with a dime store and expanded and expanded and expanded until today they're all over the country and all over the world, and they're getting some of everybody's money. Now, this is what you and I in General Motors, the same way, didn't start out like it is. It started out just a little rat race type operation, and it expanded and expanded until today it's where it is right now. And you and I have to make a start. And the best place to start is right in the community where we live. So our people not only have to be re-educated to the importance of supporting black business, but the black man himself has to be made aware of the importance of going into business.
See, and that's how they used to talk back in the day. You can instantly see how different that it is from the kind of talk that you hear today. See, I told you this was going to be a little different. But, yeah, that's how they got down back then, man. And most of the men back then reflected that energy. So whenever my dad wanted something done, he rarely asked anybody to do it for him. He would go get books and teach himself. They didn't have all these YouTube tutorials back then like we have today. They went to the library back then. A lot of people today have never even set foot in a library. Back then, that was how they got their information and knowledge. They wanted to learn something that they don't know. They literally went down and got a library card, started taking out books, go home and read and study and educate themselves in what they wanted to know, and then take the books back or make Xeroxes and photocopies. That was the other thing they did. They would get the book, make Xeroxes of all the information that they wanted, take the books back, and then come back and study the copies. And then they would keep those copies as reference material. And so my dad had a briefcase that was jam-packed with all these copies and photocopies that he had made over periods of time, different things, how to work on his car, how to fix his car, how to do this, how to install car stereos, different things. So it was just different stuff that he had done or was working on. And he kept all of that material.